What's up, guys? VitalSyntax here. This is more gameplay from the open beta for Crysis 3 on the PC. This is Museum playing Crash Site, and I'm using the MK60, which has become my my go-to weapon. I have extended mag, so it goes all the way up to 120 round magazine. By default, it's only, or not only, it's still 100 without the extended mags. And I also got the match barrel, which I believe increases your accuracy. I don't know if it increases recoil, but this thing has next to no recoil. And then I also have the reflex or red dot sight on there. And I think this might be a little bit overpowered, or at least some of the other weapons need to be buffed a bit. It seems like this one, for me at least, the MK60 and the FY or F7Y or F7Y7, something like that, which kind of looks like an AK. Those are kind of the two best weapons in my hand. That and the Marshall. Marshall's also pretty awesome. It's the pump action shotgun. But this thing has a massive magazine, very little recoil, a ton of damage, and I guess the only downside is that it has a slower reload time because it's a belt-fed light machine gun. But even then, if you have like the reload faster upgrade, which I think is called like Weapons Pro or something, which is something that I use on every class that I play with, it's really not that bad of a reload if you have that upgrade on your nanosuit. So anyway, in this video, I'm going to be doing some tips and tricks to help you guys out in the beta. This is, goes across all platforms. So let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any other suggestions, and people can read through that and see just how they can improve their game for Crysis 3. So the first thing I want to talk about is creating custom classes. Don't just use the default classes. You do have to unlock custom classes, which I'm not sure which level you get that at, but right at the beginning you're going to be restricted to the default classes. But you want to unlock the custom ones and start doing that, because you can turn off auto armor, which auto armor basically essentially deploys your armor automatically for you, and that's fine and dandy, but it's a waste of an upgrade slot, because once you get used to deploying armor by yourself, you obviously don't want to waste a perk or waste a nanosuit upgrade on something that you can do by yourself. So I would suggest getting used to throwing your armor on when you need it, turning it off when you don't, and not using the auto armor and using a custom class. That way you can use that upgrade slot for something else to make an even better class. Next thing I want to talk about is also related to armor, is that armor doesn't drain by just being used like it did in Crysis 2. You can keep armor on forever, and it doesn't lose its energy. It only loses energy when you take damage. So it's usually a good idea if you're on a flag point or you're exposed or something like that to just always have armor on. That way if you do get shot, you'll have a little more protection from enemy gunfire. And also, armor will regenerate while it's being used. So if you do take damage, your armor will go down, but you don't have to turn armor off for it to start regaining more energy. So you can always just kind of leave it on, even if you're if you're in an exposed spot and you need extra protection. Alright, now another thing they've changed with the energy for Crysis 2 is that running, sprinting, power jumping, where you hold down your jump button, you jump a little bit higher, those do not use energy at all. You have unlimited movement energy. So use that to your advantage. Move very quickly around the map, sprint to objectives, sprint to help out teammates, and grab on ledges, do power jumps and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about draining energy that you would otherwise use for armor or stealth like you had to in Crysis 2. Another thing is use Air Stomp. So Air Stomp was in Crysis 2, but it was actually a upgrade that you had to get for your nanosuit. Now it's actually built into every nanosuit, which I think is a much better way of deploying it. So essentially all you have to do is hold, I think, X. I guess it kind of depends what your key bindings are on what platform you use, but you basically just have to get enough air. You can't just jump straight up. You kind of have to jump off of a ledge or something that's above an area. And it's really good to do the smash thing on top of a flag point where enemies are controlling that flag point, because it has a pretty big blast radius and it'll kill people within it. So you might get a couple kills and clear out an entire objective by just doing the Air Stomp. So cloak still does drain, unlike armor, just like it did in Crysis 2, and by moving you're going to drain a lot quicker, so especially by running. So if you are using cloak, just keep in mind that you don't want to be moving if you're trying to make the cloak last as long as possible. I typically just use cloak for when I'm trying to hide or trying to get away from somebody, especially if I'm trying to reload, because you're always exposed. You can't shoot back while you're reloading, so it's a good idea to use cloak while you're reloading. Also, you can use cloak to assassinate people. So if you get up behind them, turn your cloak on and then hit your melee button. I'm not sure if you have to hold it down or just tap it, but regardless, you'll do an assassination. That'll kill them in one hit, where normally it takes, I think, 2 hits if they have armor on to kill them with a melee. So that's how you do the assassination, or like the takedown, or whatever you want to refer to it as. Alright, now another thing I want to mention is alien weapons. So there are power weapons, depending on the game mode you're playing, but they're kind of like Halo in some senses. They're very limited in ammo, but they're very powerful. So if you do find one, and it seems like they're kind of random spawns, but not necessarily always random. Like there's these set spots on the map, but it seems like each round the different spots are chosen. So just kind of figure out where the spawn points are and go check them every once in a while. And if you can get an alien weapon, then definitely use it, because they're quite powerful, especially like the missile or rocket launcher one and the sniper one. Those are the two that I always like to mess around with. There's also pickable objects, or pick-upable objects, like poles, and like the 50 cal gun you guys see me using. You can actually pull it off of the mount. These are also incredibly useful. The pole is a one-hit kill if you hit them with it with your melee button. You can even throw it at them and you'll kill them as well. You can pick up shields. All that stuff is really, really fun, and also gives you kind of an edge depending on how you play Crysis 3. Alright, so another thing is to talk about the pinger. So the pinger is the mech unit that's kind of like the tripod, I guess people are referring to it as, that spawns in on the maps. And it kind of spawns in at a random time. It seems like it's a little bit farther, not at the beginning of the game, but not towards the end. And also it spawns out kind of in the open, and whoever gets to it first gets it. So just kind of keep an eye out when it spawns in and go get it when it spawns in. Try and at least have somebody in your team get control of it, because it's actually really useful, especially when the flag points, or the capture points, they're like pod things, are outside, because you can use the pinger to kind of protect and guard those capture points. But do keep in mind that the pinger has a weak spot. So if you actually shoot underneath it, or on the rear of it, on the backside, there's like this glowing area that if you shoot, you'll do a lot more damage. So if you're trying to take out an enemy pinger, just remember to shoot it in one of those locations to do the most amount of damage. Alright, so there's also a hijack thing. I forgot to mention that. If you can get on top of the pinger, you actually pull the pilot out and kill him in the process, and you can jump in as well. So you kind of have to watch out for people trying to hijack it if you're the one driving it. Now, I also want to talk about changing attachments. So you can press, I think, X by default. It probably depends once again on your key bindings. But you can actually swap out the attachments on your weapons in-game without having to go back to the main menu and change your customization or your classes, which is really nice, because you can just change it on the fly. If you forgot to change, some attachments and stuff in between each round, you can still have access to changing some of those things. And also, if you ever if you die and you don't have a class that maybe has an ACOG sight on it, you can just throw that on by switching out some of the attachments. Okay, and then also by default, you're going to run with the frag grenade. And in my experience, it's a good useful tool, but in my experience, the jaw, which is the rocket launcher, as well as the flash grenade, are much better. So if you can, once you have those unlocked, try and use one of those too. The flash grenade is really good. It's kind of like a mix between a flash and a stun, because the enemies that get hit by it can't really see. It's like white for a couple seconds, and they also can't move. Their mouse speed or acceleration or whatever is turned way down, so it's really hard to turn. So it's a really good tactic if you can throw a flash grenade onto a flag point, an enemy flag point, and take out all the guys, because they're just totally unaware of their surroundings because they have white screens. And also the jaw is really good too. It's a rocket launcher. It does quite a bit of damage. Pretty easy to get double kills on flag points and things like that. That's a pretty big blast radius as well. And then the last thing I want to mention is changing your field of view. By default on the PC, it's set to 55, I believe, which is quite low. I play on anywhere between 70 and 80, so 75 in this game works out pretty well, but you can only change the field of view when you're in-game, which is kind of weird. You can't change it from the main menu. So once you join a game, go into the game settings, into the options, it's under like general, and you can change your field of view, I think all the way from like 55 to 90 or something like that. So go ahead and change that to whatever preferences you want to play on. So the gameplay you guys are watching or have been watching for this video is actually the best match I've had so far for Crysis 3 Open Beta. Probably one of the best games I've had in just Crysis in general. I think I ended up with a score of like 54-3 or something like that. And I was trying to take full advantage of some of the power weapons around the map, of the power stomp, as well as the MK60. This thing is so good. I honestly think it's too good. So I think they probably need to either turn some of the damage down on this, add some more recoil to it, or maybe buff some of the other guns, because I don't know. I think the Scarab, one of the assault rifles in the beta, It has a little bit too much recoil for how little damage it does. It does have a higher fire rate than the other assault rifle, but it feels really weak. And then I think the sniper rifle also needs some type of upgrade because it's not being used by basically anybody. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like or a favorite if you would like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.